Today, we're going to dive into this ancient poem, Psalm 4, but trust me, it feels like it was written for our crazy, high-pressure lives. We're about to go on a pretty unforgettable journey, exploring the powerful emotional story packed into these few verses.
You know that feeling, right? The day is finally over, but your brain just won't shut off. You're lying there trying to find some rest, but the weight of everything, your worries, your critics, the pressure, it all just feels way too heavy. Well, that's exactly where this story begins.
So our journey starts right in the middle of a crisis. And this isn't some polite, quiet little prayer. Nope. This is an urgent, desperate cry for help from someone who feels completely backed into a corner.
Okay, so in verse 1, the writer, David, isn't just asking for help out of the blue. He's actually reminding God, hey, you've done this for me before. Remember when I was crushed and you made space for me? Just imagine for a second you're in a tiny room and the walls are literally closing in on you. Then, with this one prayer, whoosh, the walls just fly backwards and all this light and air comes rushing in. That's the feeling, the relief that he's crying out for right now.
Now here's where things get really interesting. Right after crying out to God, David just turns on a dime. He starts speaking directly to the people who are causing all this trouble. He's not just sitting back and taking it. He's confronting his accusers head on.
So in verse 2, he hits them with these two really sharp questions. Picture him holding this shining golden orb. That's his glory, his honor, his reputation. And his enemies, they're like these shadowy figures just trying to sling mud all over it, trying to turn it into shame. He's basically calling them out for chasing after illusions, for loving things that have absolutely no real value.
All right, this next verse, this is the absolute pivot point of the entire psalm. Seriously, this is the core truth that completely transforms his fear into this unshakable confidence. Let's check out how he does it.
The key phrase in verse 3 is set apart. It's such a powerful idea. I want you to imagine a huge, gray, faceless crowd of people. And then suddenly, bam, a brilliant spotlight from heaven shines down and illuminates just one person, marking them as chosen. Now, this isn't arrogance. This is the source of his confidence. He knows he has a direct line to God and that God will hear him.
So, flowing directly from that newfound confidence, David gives some incredibly practical advice. I mean, if you know you're secure, how do you actually handle all the anger and frustration from your situation? He lays out a really clear process.
This is just fascinating. Look at verse 4. He doesn't say, don't be angry. He says, be angry. Go ahead, feel the emotion. It's totally valid. But, he adds, don't let it push you into sin. The instruction is to take that intense feeling, go lie down, get quiet, and think. It's like you can almost see inside someone's chest, where this fiery, turbulent heart is just raging. And then a gentle, steady hand comes and just calms it. Not by putting the fire out, but by containing it.
And this slide just illustrates that two-step process perfectly. First, you acknowledge the feeling. The anger is real, let it be real. But second, you have to consciously choose the path of stillness and reflection over the path of, destructive words or actions. It's basically emotional intelligence from thousands of years ago.
And then in verse 5, the instruction keeps going. After you deal with your internal state, your heart, you focus on your external actions. Offer the sacrifices of righteousness just means do the right thing, even when it's the hard thing. Imagine you're standing at a fork in the road. One path is easy, it goes downhill into the shadows. The other is this difficult, rocky, uphill climb toward the light. He's saying, choose the hard, right path, and then trust God with the results.
And now, here we are. We've arrived at the final stage of this incredible emotional journey. After the cry for help, the confrontation, and that crucial choice to trust, the story resolves into this profound sense of joy, security, and a deep, unshakable peace.
In verse 6, David acknowledges all those cynical voices out there, that chorus of despair that's always saying, it's hopeless, things will never get better. Picture a crowd of people, all just looking down at the ground, totally dejected. But right in the middle of them, David looks up, and as he does, this warm sun-like light, the light of God's countenance, shines down and just illuminates his face. That's his answer to all their despair. And what does that light bring him? Well, verse 7 tells us, a deep gladness right in his heart. And then he makes this really important comparison. He says this joy is way greater than the temporary happiness people feel during a booming harvest, when the barns are overflowing with grain and wine.
This chart right here breaks down that difference perfectly. On one side, you've got the joy from the world.
It's totally based on your circumstances, like getting more grain in wine. It's temporary. It only lasts for a season. But then you look at the joy from God. That's an internal gift, a gladness in the heart. It's based on His presence, and because of that, it's constant.
And all of this leads to the beautiful conclusion in verse 8. Remember where we started? With the guy so stressed out he couldn't rest? And now he says he will lie down and sleep and do it in peace. How? Why? Because his safety isn't based on his circumstances anymore. It's based on God. The final image here is just perfect. It's a person sleeping soundly, so peacefully, in their bed, while outside the window a massive storm is just raging on, completely unable to touch them.
So the ultimate takeaway from this whole journey is this. True safety, true peace, isn't about having no trouble in your life. It's about having the presence of God right there with you in the middle of it. That is the secret to dwelling in safety.
So that really leaves us with a final question to think about. When the pressure's on for you and the night feels really long, what is the source of your security? What is it that allows you to lie down and sleep in peace?